pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. We have quorum, so I'd like to call the meeting to order. We do have confirmation of proper meeting notice. First item on the agenda would be approval of the minutes for the board meeting of 11/20.
I'll make a motion to approve the board minutes from November 20.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. First, we'll start off with the treasurer's report, Todd.
Okay, so the cleanup costs from
Microphone. Microphone.
does it work? No, you turned it on.
Well, he's not hot, he's not.
The microphone turned on.
I don't think so, no?
Just tap.
Yeah, now you're working. Okay. So the cleanup cost from the hurricane is beginning to make its way to other financial statements. About $53,000 was recorded in November, and we expect a little bit more. We expect just a bit in December, and then into 2025, we're going to have the cost for the fence and a few more of the tree removals. Electricity costs have jumped substantially. So we pay rent and maintenance on all of the light posts in the community. So the Seacoast side of that was running about $2,500 a month at the beginning of the year. Seems to have shot up to about $7,500 a month. So we knew rates were going to go up. Apparently, they have done an internal study, and they believe they have been subsidizing this for years through all of their other charges. So the finance committee is so there's the option for we could take control of the light posts ourselves and do the maintenance. Not clear that's a good idea, but I think it's worth looking into, and I think the finance, so the finance committee is gonna look into that. So it's no surprise we had a loss in the month of November. However, we still have a surplus of about $65,000 for the year. So, of course, in December, we're going to pay for the new air conditioning units in this building and that building, and that was $63,000. So, my best guess for the end of the year is going to end up about where we should be, which is real close to zero. We really shouldn't be making money. We shouldn't be losing money. And the restricted fund reports and the financial statements are both posted online.
All right, Todd, thank you very much. Manager's report?
So this month we were able to finish the irrigation project in the front circle. They had to do some matching with the pavers. They're not the exact color, but they're going to play with some tinting on there to see if we can get them towards a little less obvious. But it doesn't look horrible the way it is. Each pot will have its own individual lines, so I'm getting a proposal to put new plants in there, and they're going to give us some renderings. I'll have that in the next couple of weeks, and we can take on that project in January. And as Todd mentioned, the HVAC installation has been completed in both buildings. There's been some little hiccups with the installation. We've had them out. They've been really good about responding to calls and getting those issues resolved. So hopefully those will be smooth going forward. Phase 1 road resurfacing, they came out on the 9th, they being two contractors and the engineer, did the pre-bid meeting. They toured the property, looked at the information from the engineer, and we expect bids to be turned in by December 20th, and the board will be meeting shortly after the new year to review those bids and get a response to the contractors. 20, the project that we had pending was 20 camphor tree saplings along Scrub Tree Trail. That has been completed, so we can take that off our list. And then Matt and Drew have been working on the 2025 directory. We should have a a draft of that here pretty quick, and hopefully that'll be ready for distribution in January or February. Final fencing repairs, there was a section along Hunter's Ridge and Stony Brook that we have vinyl fence. Those should be repaired this week. The sports courts fencing, that is scheduled for the first part of January. Taylor Tennis will be out to work on the tennis courts first, and then the pickleball courts. They're also going to be fixing one of the bent posts for the nets while they're out here. And we'll let everybody know when they'll be here exactly and what to expect as far as being able to use the courts. Annual meeting. So we've got the annual meeting coming up on March 4th. It will be March 4th this year. And so we're getting everything ready for that. We're going to be sending out the call for candidates first part of January, and then we'll schedule a meet the candidates in the latter part of January, and I'll have those dates when we send out the notice for the annual meeting. That's all I
All right,
have.
thank you. So, President's report. I just want to say, we all know that it feels like the building project has been taking a very long time. However, we're in the final stretch. I want to let everybody know that, and we thank everybody for being patient. We know it's been a long process. The bids will be coming back into Powell on the 8th of January, and at which point they will review them. The board will review, and on our January 22nd meeting, we will be selecting a candidate, a contractor, and we will also be having town halls so the community will have involvement in everything at that time.
Terry?
Yes, sir.
You might want to mention for the record that we extended the bid date from the 18th of December to into January because of the holidays.
Well, you're right. The holidays, and the other thing was too, a lot of the contractors had a lot of questions. So in order for Powell to answer them properly and the bidders be able to submit an accurate bid, we did agree to go ahead and extend it till the 8th for them to come in. We are really excited because it looks like we have 3 prospective bidders at this time. And once, of course, the board selects the contractor, that's when you, the community, play your most important role. Because then at that point, it's going to be in your hands to vote to fund the project. And we're really excited about this. We hope you all will be too, and we're excited to move forward. So please make sure when that goes out that everybody votes. Last week, I signed additional paperwork that was requested to finalize getting the permitting for the dock, and hopefully that's going to be issued. And there again, wheels of government turn very slowly. Unfortunately, that was out of our control, but we're looking forward to having a beautiful dock soon so everybody in the community can enjoy that. And that means next year when they do the sailboats out there for the holidays, they'll have the dock to launch them off of. So that's going to be great. Quick reminder, if you're experiencing any issues with your cable or your internet, please make sure to reach out to our provider by letting them know that, and them logging in the location and the times. It'll hopefully help them pinpoint what the issues are and getting it corrected. Also, they will be here on property on January 30th between 12 and 2, so please make sure to plan to attend that. For all the trail walkers, make sure to look on Channel 16 for the updated map, which shows the trails that are currently closed due to flooding. And we would like to thank ENC for keeping that information up to date and doing a great job with all that. And finally, if you haven't had a chance to go out into the community and check out all the holiday decorations, we really encourage you to. A lot of our homeowners have done a great job with that, and we really appreciate that. And I think it's, it'd be a nice addition for everybody to go out and check it out.
Terry, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to add with regard to the vote that'll go out through tie vote that Josh mentioned. We intend to include the vote at that time for the funds for the building rehabilitation, correct?
It's correct. It'll be 2 separate votes, though. And it's not all one, it'll be two separate.
Two
vote-
separate efforts?
Well, we have an agenda item for that, so
Yeah,
let's
so it'll be
discuss it when we
discussed
get
at
to that
that
agenda
time.
item.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I just want to make sure, so they're, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So under unfinished building, Josh is going to update us on the building update and voting timeline.
Well, I think you just did a great job of
Okay,
doing
well,
that, so
all
I
right,
really need to
so
do that.
there's our time.
But the big, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, we will be combining the vote, and the votes will be coming in on the 8th with the meetings, but,
If I could just make a couple of
Yep.
comments on everything that's happened thus far in the meeting.
They will hear you.
Mine's not on either? Wow. I usually always. How about now?
Okay, yeah.
yep,
Okay, usually I have a big mouth, as you all know. Just a couple of really quick things. On the light poles that Todd mentioned, because we're now paying so much more, at least on the Seco side, I took my granddaughter around with my golf cart in my part of Legacy, and I counted almost a dozen light poles that were out. And we should all know that the CAM can't be here driving around every night to look for light poles that are out. And if we're paying $7,500 a month for light poles, we would like them all to be lit. So it's incumbent upon homeowners, if you have a light pole out and it's been out for a while and it's within the site of your house, get the number, either turn it into Duke or Seco, or even let Matt know. And Matt's been wonderful getting those fixed. But, somebody asked me, well, didn't you write them all down when you went up? No, because I was spending quality time with my granddaughter, but I turn them in when they're near my house. So everybody just turn them in so we're paying for it anyway. Other thing, the cable. In my area, and I don't think it's Legacy-wide, cable's been going out for about 15 minutes an evening, almost every 2 or 3 nights.
Yes.
And that's been going on for weeks.
Yes.
I call them every time because they will escalate the issue if more people call. So more people need to call so they know the breadth of the outage, and they will escalate it. The latest info I got is that something is tripping that part of cable, and the cable automatically is resetting, which takes 10 to 15 minutes. And that's what's happening. Now, I know there's something going on tonight from midnight to 6 maintenance.
6 a.m.
Maybe they'll fix that themselves, but instead of complaining, if everybody could kindly call Seco, call Optical Tel and let them know, that would be very helpful. Last thing, I know it's a little bit picky, but we appreciate everybody coming to the meeting. If you come with a golf cart, could you please park in tandem per parking area out here so we fit more golf carts? Next time we have that striping done, we'll probably put a little stripe in the middle as a reminder, but one golf cart should not take up the whole parking space. Thank you.
okay. Next, building renovation, additional expenses. Josh, do you want to go over those?
Just
Yep.
a second. The building update and voting timeline, I just want to make it, is that the agenda item you were referring to?
Yeah, and as far as like choosing whether you include them together and how you vote,
That's what I wanted to talk about.
I have separate proposals for that. But the big thing, like you were saying, is that based on the timeline, if the board meets the 22nd to review the proposals from the contractors, at that point they'll choose which contractor is the best fit
Correct.
for the community, and then we'll start the town halls and information process to the community. But voting will be at the same time as the annual meeting.
But there'll be 2 separate efforts, so I'll get 2 separate emails?
No.
Okay, that's what I
Well-
want to make clear.
Well, yeah, and that's part of what the proposals are. You can do it both ways. You guys haven't decided. Because right now you've decided a separate vote, but you're going to change that today.
Yeah, that's one of your agenda items, Dave.
I looked at the packet,
Annual
I didn't
meeting.
see
So,
that
no.
broken down that way, but that's fine.
Yeah, basically this is just a generic update on how the building voting will progress. Right now, it looks like you guys will be able to make a decision on a contractor by January 22nd. And then voting will start or at the same time as the annual meeting.
Shortly thereafter, yeah.
Yeah, so we should hopefully have the final answer from the community by March 4th at the annual meeting. We'll do 2 separate meetings. One will be for the voting results, one will be for the annual meeting. And then as far as like when construction would start, it would be about 30 days after that, according to the information we gave to the contractors. So now we'll discuss when we get to the election proposals, if we're gonna lump the voting at the same time, or if we're gonna keep the 2 separate. So, I know it's a formality, but you already approved one, so yeah, thank you, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Todd. It's Josh.
So, just to sort of clarify, we say we pick a contractor on the
You
20.
pick a cost, yeah.
Yeah, we truly are picking a cost, because
Yeah.
it's not just the contractor, it's actually the
Right.
whole number to do the whole project.
Yeah, you're right.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Josh, you want to go over the building renovation additional expenses?
Yeah, this is basically the same list that you had before. There's been some minor updates to it with new proposals that we've got, and we've gotten more solid numbers. So what I was hoping you guys would do is basically start at the top of that spreadsheet and then, go through, and there's some things that are what we'll call non-negotiables. We're gonna have to do them as part of the project as the project stands now. And what I mean by that is if we're going to do all 3 buildings at once, we've got to store the things somewhere. So storage is pretty much, we're gonna have to deal with.
Right.
We're gonna need people to help move it. Temporary office space, if we close that building down, we're gonna need somewhere for the community to be able to get stickers and meet with us as they need to. So those would be examples of like non-negotiables. Now within each proposal, there's things that you can choose, like there's different contractors for moving, there's different options for the temporary office space and bathrooms, all that. So what I wanted to do is kind of go through this list. This is what the majority of the meeting will be, and make sure we have everything together. So when we do meet on the 22nd, we have a good idea of what the number will be that we're gonna send out to vote. So the first one would be obviously, sorry, I'm pulling up the list. On the,
Moving and storage.
yeah, so there's 2 options here, and Matt was the one who met with him and got proposals. So I'm gonna let you go over the actual moving list, but the main thing was one does pool tables, the other one doesn't.
Yeah.
And you need somebody that does pool tables. So,
How do you want to handle this, Terry? You want to go
I'm
around?
gonna let Matt go through it, and then we can ask questions afterwards if we have any, and discuss it. That way, let him cover, if you want to go through the moving and storage information.
Yeah, that's fine. So the 2 companies that I met with, first was Hughes Relocation Services. They're pretty local. They're in Ocala. And the price they gave, and this is kind of based on just let's just say it's 8 months. So it's kind of an 8-month figure. It's $23,546. It's a little bit higher than the other, but kind of like Josh says, this one does include moving of the pool tables, refelting them afterwards, things like that. So it's kind of more all-encompassing versus the other one. So Village Movers and Storage, same thing for about 8 months. It's $19,876. This does include both quotes include moving of kind of all the contents in all the buildings, storing them in a container out back where we see fit. Both are fully insured companies, so that means that when their movers are here on premises, they're covered under liability and things like that. So it's a little bit safer that way. We would just need to find someone to move the 3 pool tables, which there's a billiards company down in Orlando that can help with that. So that's kind of the storage.
Is there any questions for Matt regarding? Yes, ma'am.
In addition to the $25,000 approximately, we have to rent containers.
That's going to be included with it.
I'm sorry?
That's included.
That's included.
Oh, they provide the containers?
That's not clear in Hughes's bid. It says, move out of clubhouse and into containers provided by customer on site.
Yeah, that's how I
Yeah.
read it.
I can talk to them again, but I mean, I kind of thought that they said that they would take care of that.
Yeah, let's
so.
double check that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Also, you mentioned that Hughes is Ocala because the only thing I saw was Pennsylvania. That's,
They have two, yeah, one in Pennsylvania, one in Ocala.
Okay.
The main one is in Pennsylvania, though.
that's what I was kind of looking at villages because they are local. But I'm glad, yeah, they got it. Good. Some question.
Any other questions,
So-
Todd?
So are we planning on storing club items?
All of the contents. So I mean, we kind of went through building by building and room by room.
So what's ever in here, we store, and you can't touch it for the duration of the project. Or if a club needs access to it in that type of time frame, they have to self-store it. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, might be a good idea to let the clubs know that we're gonna lock their stuff up for a while if they don't want it to get it out of there.
Okay, but the
Yeah.
general space includes everything in the building?
Correct.
Okay, good, thanks.
Yeah. Dave, Frank, anything?
I've got a couple questions. On the Hughes bid, or estimate back in the valuation and liability section, Matt, option 2 would, talking about insurance coverage.
Yeah.
Option 2 is for full value protection. I would be interested in that, at
Yeah.
least a discussion or a pricing on that.
Yeah,
Because I don't like option 1, which is, comes with the contract.
yeah,
And it's a minimum coverage of 60 cents per pound.
right.
That's nothing, it's peanuts. And they, you know, in their language, of course, they protect themselves from liability if something gets damaged. So unless, you know, that drives you, it's kind of like renting a car. That drives you to picking up insurance from them if you want to cover your stuff for damage. And let's face it, those pool tables aren't cheap.
No, but they are heavy.
I know, exactly. You read my point, yeah. And the other thing I had, also with the Hughes proposal, was payment terms. It says payment is due in full prior to commencement of services unless credit is requested and approved, in which case a 50% advance deposit will be required. We have to pay them for this whole contract up front?
I'm pretty sure they'll accept 50% up front, which is pretty normal when they're bringing containers and stuff like that. There's gonna be costs associated with
Well,
that.
I'd like to have that in writing, not
Sure,
just
well,
an
yeah, you're not
assumption.
approving the proposal today,
I
so I can,
understand that, Josh, but what I'm saying is, if Matt's gonna talk to them, get them to amend the proposal to say what you just said.
sure, we can do that.
Anything else?
Only one question about, the village movers. Are they're not gonna use a specialty, company to do the pool tables, they'll do it themselves?
Villages won't. So we have to find, I mean, there's a couple
So
billiards
that, yeah, that
companies.
wasn't clear to me, so they aren't gonna handle the pool table?
Correct,
So we would have to do that separately.
right.
So that to me adds more cost to it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
okay, thank you.
All right, Frank?
Just one thing, I thought I heard you say, Matt, that they, in the course of this, they would refelt the pool tables.
Correct.
So,
Realign it,
okay, I mean, and I'm fine with that if it needs it, but, you know,
That's kind of the only way that they move them. I guess pool tables have 3 separate slabs. I
Yes.
think it's like that.
Yes.
So they do have to.
okay, yeah, and
Move it
I've done
apart.
that before, so if that's part of it, that's an upgrade that we're getting then, new felt for the
And
pool
you can
table.
put logos on it, whatever.
Right.
And there's no extra cost. So
Right.
whatever color you want, it's,
Right.
you know.
So, no, I remember doing that one, so, yeah, okay.
Okay, anything else? Okay, and I do agree with Dave. That was one of my notes that I had with regarding the insurance. I would definitely like to see a cost on that. The other one is so minimal that it's not even worth having. So I think to protect ourselves and everything we have, we could have them give us a firm price on that. That would be very helpful.
And
Chris?
Terry,
Yeah.
just to go along with what you're saying, I just was thinking about this. Since the pool table effort would be an additional cost if we were to consider apples to apples with comparing these two bids, we need to get a a bid on doing the pool table separately, so we could add that to the Village Movers quote. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's
So that
fair
you
enough.
had an apple to apple.
Right, well, I'd be doing that and the storage of them, because this
Yeah.
also includes the
Right,
storage. so-
exactly.
Okay. Chris, anything? Barb?
The only other question I had was, do we need them to move all the gym equipment since we're trading that, most of it in?
Well, we haven't made,
At this time, all of that is included.
Okay, so it could be less.
Yeah, the approach we took was everything we have in all of the buildings, we're going to keep and need stored. If that changes, we might be able to get the price down a little bit. So, for example, if
But
we
you took
decide,
worst case, right? Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
if we're gonna throw away all the tables and chairs because we're
Yeah.
getting new ones, throwing away the stage,
Right.
all that stuff, that'll bring the price down.
all right, very good. Next item, stage replacement.
Yep, this is something we've been talking about for a while. Chris had worked with myself to get a quote from Wanger, and we have a quote in your packet for the stage replacement. That would fit the exact area that we have now, which isn't changing in the construction project. So it's pretty straightforward. We didn't get multiple bids. We got one because that was the one that was kind of recommended for us that would fit. And it's a portable setup that has wheels and you can configure it in multiple different ways.
Any questions?
I have a question. Is there a reason we went with the 4x4 pieces? Because I'm told that when you take each piece apart or put it back together, the reinforcement of the legs is important, of course, and with 4x4 pieces rather than 4x6 or larger pieces, it's a lot more work
Chris can answer that.
to take them apart and move them.
Okay, why did we go with 4x4? Because they don't go by 4x8 or 4x6, they go 4x8, which is what we have. Part of the issue is weight. The other issue is more legs. Dave and I can attest when we went down a year and a half ago, he was just standing there. I was the one jumping up and down. Dave doesn't jump so well. So, and it didn't move.
Yeah.
It did not budge.
Right.
It's easier for whoever has to take it down and put it back up. It's lighter because it's only a 4x4 foot section instead of 4x8. And that was all taken into consideration. Talking with Julie, who's with Wenger, she said that's a really good point. Now, one thing that we did not talk about with the stage is curtains, and eventually that's one thing down the road that we want to make sure that we do have curtains either through the overhead or on the side. So,
Chris, when you say curtains, is that below the stage?
no.
No.
that's
You're talking about
skirting.
above the stage,
I'm
okay.
talking, yeah.
But I thought we,
It's not in here.
okay.
Because we don't know, now supposedly, as they raise this, they're going to put material in there that we can drill into and put
hang.
runners.
Yeah.
So if we end up doing that, that's one way, or if we don't, then yes, we'll have to talk with Winger, and they do have curtains that attach to the stage.
Oh, okay.
So,
So we'll have some options to deal with afterwards, right?
yeah.
Okay, Barb, does that answer your question? Okay, perfect. Next item, blackout curtains. Did you,
So these would be the curtains that are for the different windows. I mean, it's pretty, we have two options. One's mechanical, where you have to manually do the moving and closing them yourself. And the other is push button, and it does it for you. So pretty straightforward. They're gonna cover up all the windows that come in here.
So how many windows are we talking for 25K?
I think it's listed on there. Matt met with that contractor as well.
Which question is this for?
The
Is this the
Blackout.
blinds or the blackout?
the
The
blackout?
blackout.
So the blackout curtains is
Those are
up there and down here, this whole
So
kind
it's
of
this
wall
area.
here.
So it's this
Right,
area.
and then the motorized ones for
Right.
those two up
But I
there.
mean, it's the high ceilinged area we're talking about.
Correct.
Okay, that's $25,000.
Correct.
Or it's 20,000 if it's not motorized?
If it's manual, so.
It still seems awfully expensive.
It's commercial grade, that's why.
Yeah.
Is that why?
It's
Yeah.
not house grade.
If I could,
Yeah.
a few years ago, we looked at just curtains for that top part, and it was over $6,000.
Okay.
Just,
Yeah.
and that was probably.
And that was some years ago.
7 or 8 years ago,
Yeah.
yeah.
One other question is, I noticed that on their note, triple window above door will only be able to be made at 238 inches width, approximately 25 inches out from both sides of window. This is the largest size workroom can accommodate. Our workroom or their workroom? Their workroom. Okay.
Their workroom.
So we would have 2 feet basically on each side that's not covered with the blackout curtains?
No, it
No,
would extend further.
Beyond?
2 feet.
Beyond.
So the light wouldn't bleed.
Well, that's why I asked the question. Good,
Yeah.
great. Okay, thank you.
All right, and are these the only companies who've been able to reach out to? There's nobody else that would come out?
For that kind of, yeah.
Okay, all righty. The access control,
Yeah, this is a really rough estimate for them to come in and wire. Part of your proposal with Powell, you have electrified panic bars on your doors instead of how we have it now, which is it comes down out of the wall and through like a conduit. Now they will come through the door jamb into the actual panic bar, so that should clean that up a little bit and we can get rid of the buttons. But you got to have a cost for Guardian, or that's who I got the proposal from, is Guardian to come in and do all the wiring and connecting up to your actual system. And part of that might be a change to the software that we use. We use a pretty antiquated software to manage all your access control. So we're going to look at getting that updated. So that might be we could still use probably this Paxton reader still, but we'd have to maybe change cards out and stuff like that. So
Okay, so this is for our key cards along with the in and out.
yes.
is-
And now we don't have a firm.
No, because really there's a lot of variables to it, and we have to just wait till we finalize the construction documents, and then I can get them to get a
So
cost.
Josh, you think this would be the worst case scenario though, right?
I think that's about what it's gonna cost. I wouldn't
Okay.
say worst case, but
Okay.
about what it's gonna cost.
You're not gonna commit to that could be the worst case, okay?
Barb,
I don't
any
have
questions for you? Chris, any questions?
Nope.
Anybody else? No, good, all right. Landscaping?
Yeah, that's a very, we don't know what we want to do as far as plants around the buildings when they're done, but I did have him give me a cost for about what would be average. And part of that proposal is in two sections. One, to clear out some of the stuff that needs to be cleared, and then to replant after. So you see a lot of 3-gallon generic plant on there, but we can modify that and pick different things, and that number will fluctuate based on that. I figured you guys would have some strong ideas on how you would want it, or somebody would have a strong idea on how they want it, and we could get an exact proposal for that.
Okay,
So your per cost includes both taking out and putting in.
Correct.
Right, at least as far
Yeah.
as.
And then we just have to look at, if you want more mature plants, that cost will go up a little bit. If you want more or something specific, we have to just get exact quotes on that. And that, I don't know how you guys want to do that. If you want to leave that up to Yellowstone, if you want to have a group look at the options and what should be done, that's something we should probably start discussing as well.
But we wouldn't actually do this until it was done, so one now since we have.
You do have time,
Yes.
you
Right,
need to
just
think
food
about
for
it,
thought.
yeah.
Well, yeah, that's where I was gonna go with this. So if we roughly say, when we're putting our costs together to go out to community for the amount of money that we would need to spend on the effort, we could cap it for landscaping at $30,500. And then we could see what we could do with that amount of money if it's approved. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we'll be looking at all that after we get the
Right.
contract.
But we gotta come up
Yeah.
with a figure.
Well, no, I realize that, yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm suggesting is that since Josh got this work up from Yellowstone, which seems to be quite substantial, I mean, as far as the work to be done, that looks like a number we could be able to use.
Well, when we get to that point, yes, definitely, yeah.
So-
Well, we're
so
not, I don't think we're there yet.
I think it's a question of timing. I know in my own mind, in my own mind, I'm doing this in conjunction with having a bid for the building.
Correct.
Correct.
Right. So that's my point, yeah.
Yeah.
So that means I can push this off until we do it on the 20th.
Well, I don't wanna push too much off until we do it.
Well, no, but I think,
But what I'm saying is, if we ought to have a list, I thought the thought process was today, we would go through this list again, we've done it previously, but we go through this again. We would agree on at least some number for each of these activities.
I don't think we can do that until we see the actual bid.
Why is that?
We don't know what that amount's gonna be, and, we don't know what we're actually looking at this point. I mean, I'll open it up to the rest of the board.
No, I didn't say we vote on it.
No, I
And make
understand.
it cast in stone, but we come to an agreement on the amount of money that we think is in the secondary area of things that have to be done in conjunction with the building.
So I think, I know for me, at a very high level, I'm taking the cost that Josh has here. As sort of my guess right now, he's got 35,000 on his landscape line. To me, for right now, that's good
Yeah.
enough.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Now, in a month, when we get down and we realize we might need more or less, great, that's the time to have the conversation too. I mean, what this is doing is that if we said, no, we didn't want any landscape at all, let's make this, or now would be the time to me to have that conversation. But at least in my own mind, I'm like, well, that sounds good. I don't need to make a more refined call until we literally set the cost to go out to the community.
Yeah.
Okey dokey.
All right, Frank?
Yes, I think this is fine as a placeholder. I think
Yeah.
this is good that Josh did this.
Yeah.
The reality is that we need that just as a placeholder, but nobody knows. Like, I look at this right now and I see 380 bushes. There's not that many in all of Legacy practically. And so, well, around here anyway, okay? I'm being facetious, but I'm saying, this number is good for a placeholder, but we don't have to make these firm decisions until after the renovation is done. And the way I look at all this, in some ways, we're kind of doing this a little backwards, but we do need to do this. But all this is contingent upon the bids. And if I could make it maybe an easier analogy, it's like we're buying a new house and we're not sure how much the new house costs. Well, we're telling our wife now that we're buying the house and all new furniture. But you know what? If the house is more than we think, we might keep that current sofa for another year or so. So some of this stuff has to be done, and some of this stuff is an extension of the wish list, and everything is going to have to be prioritized after we know the bids and everything. So that's the way I see it. And if that's really wrong, tell me now. But I think that is somewhat accurate.
I agree with you. I think actually Josh said that when we first started looking at the list is, this is just getting us prepared and having a placeholder.
I think you people are misunderstanding me. My point is that I think we need to agree on a number that's put on the wish list that we then would cut from or look at when we do get the bids in, so that we have a starting point. That's all I'm suggesting.
That's what
we're all
this is.
saying.
Right.
We're saying
After
this
the
is the
bid.
starting point. We're all agreeing that this is our starting point right here. And then if we have to make adjustments, instead of 300 and some plants, we go to 200. Well, we'll know all that once we get the information back. Chris, do you have anything?
No, I agree with you. To me, that's what I've been looking at. This is a starting point, and it's going to change.
I do want to say also back to the landscaping estimate itself that I would appreciate it if E&C would be involved in helping to look at what we need around the new around the buildings. I think Pat already said she was going to do that anyway.
Yeah, and how that number came about is I showed them the areas that we'd be expanding and the areas that we would have to rip landscaping out, or the areas that would drastically change because now there's going to be a wall right up against it. And then also some of the areas like along the bocce court on the backside of the activities building, all of that juniper and everything is really overgrown and wooded and looks bad. This would be a good opportunity to pull all that out and put some fresh stuff in. So when the buildings are done, the whole property looks good. So you'd be surprised how many plants you actually have, especially when you're only planting 3 gallon versus something that's more mature. But yeah, like I said, whatever you guys would like to do as far as specific plants, grasses, whatever.
Yeah, all right.
It's a year away.
Yeah. Furniture?
This is straight off the IDDC's list. We took their list and got prices. And
Okay.
that's what you're looking at.
And the same way with the gym equipment. I know we got some pricing there, correct, from our current supplier. And also, they did discount some because we are a vendor, you know, they are our vendor already and what have you. So
Yeah, we have a
yeah.
maintenance contract with
Right,
them.
right. Now, I noticed in there too, though, there was mention of purchase versus lease. Have we thought of that or delved into that anymore?
I put the option there because
Yeah.
it was recommended by a couple members of the IDDC that that's a good idea. That's up to you guys. I mean, I personally think that it's expensive both ways if you do the whole thing, but the lease is quite a bit per month.
Well,
Right,
it's a lease purchase though, isn't it?
Yes, but when you look at the actual purchase,
I understand, yeah,
it's
you're paying extra.
you're
Yeah,
paying a
yeah,
lot more
yeah,
over time.
yeah. Terry, I have a question about the gym equipment. What happened to the rowing machine? I don't see it in here.
It's donated and the person's holding it at their house for us.
Oh,
We
cool.
accept it as a
How
donation.
wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a great answer. I like
Yeah.
that. And aren't some of these equipment replacements part of reserves or should be paid for through reserves?
So I think reserves in general is a whole conversation we have when we talk about costs and how well we fund the project.
Okay.
Yes, it will not be short on the 20th and 22nd.
No.
That's what I'm,
No,
the conclusion
yeah.
I'm coming to. That's gonna be a long meeting.
Yeah, it will be. And that's why we're gonna have that early.
Good.
Okay, so furniture and the gym equipment, like you said, shelving, TV, the artwork, all that was strictly right off of,
Yeah,
the committee.
basically they had attached, some ideas for what they want in each area, and we just tried to put a dollar amount on there.
okay. Fencing modifications, that's something we really need.
That number is definitely on the high side. What that's for is there's going to be areas that we have to move the fencing around,
Right.
specifically around the pool equipment. We're going to re-fence that. We could keep it chain link and just expand it and save some dollars there if we need to. But if you wanted to spruce that area up, you could go with a nice white vinyl fence or a tan vinyl fence and hide that pool equipment a little bit better.
Yeah, they do look nice when they're new, but they seem to attract mold and mildew. It's the only problem I have with vinyl fencing.
Let's see, in Fort Lauderdale, I never had an issue with that with all
Yeah,
the years I had it.
then you just have to put it on your maintenance program and
Well, yeah, you just
pressure
power
wash it.
wash
and
them on a
treat it.
regular basis.
Yeah,
But you're right, that is a good thought though, if we could hide some of that, yeah.
It'll look good.
yeah, and of course, concrete driveway, that is,
So that number, when the contractors were out to do the pre-bid, we actually had them bid on that as well. So we might be able to just eliminate that depending on, we actually have a quote for a contractor to remove the curbing, put the driveway in. But if it's comes in around that same price with your general contractor bid, you might just lump that in together so we're not managing another project.
Okay, and pool deck extension, new bathrooms.
So this is another thing that we just kind of took the liberty of designing ourselves, but where those new bathrooms are gonna go, you've got a huge area that's full of bushes and mulch right now. What we had a contractor bid on is basically concrete up to the pavers, blending it in with the pavers and using a dye or a stain, I don't remember exactly what the bid says, but to match it is the same color as your pool coping. And that way the two line up. But if you want to have a special stamp or you want to do anything decorative or you want to have it pavers, now's the time to kind of figure that out and have us revise the bids.
So does in your thought, do all the plants along that side of the building go?
I think we left it where there would be circles around the big palm trees
Okay.
that weren't directly obstructing the bathrooms. I don't think, I'd have to look at it again, but we had it where the palm trees could stay, but the Nandina and like the different shrubs, they're all gone.
Josh, I don't think it's gonna cost very much, but do we have any quotes or cost involved with moving that chlorine tank that would have to be moved for the driveway for the maintenance crew?
No, and it's all we have to do is have it go down and then they just move the line over. It'll actually work better, but part of the landscape bid is to clear the area where that would go. So for them to move it, right now they have a PVC line that they're using as a conduit underneath that goes across the whole backside of that fencing and underneath the sidewalk. They'll just basically move it next to where the chlorine needs to go.
So they won't need all that
Yeah,
piping.
it'll be a very easy thing to do.
Okay, thank you.
One question about the concrete, the pool deck extension. Would it be any cheaper if we use pavers? I know we're gonna have a lot of pavers that are gonna be taken up. It seems like we could reuse those there, or if not, if that wouldn't be a stable enough base.
Yeah, the thing with pavers is the cost of the paver isn't really what's gonna kill you. It's the prep of everything there, and getting it to line up is gonna be a chore. I can't answer that because I didn't have them give us a cost on that. But given it going in and out of the building like that with a shower there and all that, I would probably lean towards concrete just because it's gonna.
Brushed concrete, so
Yeah,
it's
it's
got a
gonna
little
be a
bit of
better-
friction, yeah.
Yeah. Barb, anything? No? All right, office furniture, again, that was based on the
We just
recommendations.
looked at our
yeah.
needs and
Yeah.
said, okay, that's about what it'll cost.
Right, and then the new blinds for all the windows, that'd be all the other building windows for all the new windows we've
Yeah.
got coming in. Any questions on that from anybody?
Just even from a nice to have kind of thing, are they really something that we need, all new blinds?
Again, it could be something that we cut, if there's not funding for, but if these have been here for 20 years, yeah, maybe.
Really?
They don't last forever.
Yeah,
Okay,
I always get concerned when you change out a window, exactly how it fits. So
Right.
only having done a few things at home and they never work out right. It never fits.
I just wondered, thank you, Barb.
and then last but not least, the temporary office and bathrooms.
So the two different companies that I spoke with for the restrooms, the portable restrooms, or two different companies, Portable Restroom Trailers LLC and Tailored Thrones. The grand total, and all this was done about an 8-month period, just for argument's sake. Comes to $53,760 for portable restroom trailers. And the Tailored Thrones, there's two different options. One is $4,250 a month, and the other one is $45.50, just depending on if you want a 3-station or 5-station. These are all ADA compliant. They have music in there, all kinds of stuff, so it's really nice restrooms. So that's kind of what we're talking about there. The only one that I was able to get with the offices was Mobile Modular, and you're looking at about $3,000 a month. I mean, there's going to be a setup fee, there's going to be a few things like that to kind of get going, but then it'll be about $3,000 a month. That's kind of.
Matt, I only had one question about the mobile modular proposal. Is that they talk about they're providing a holding tank for the waste, but they don't mention the pumping of that tank, whereas,
We would just have to,
that would be separate.
right, call a septic service and.
Okay, and it also says, holding tank delivery only does not include install.
Yeah, we would probably have to reach out to that same company who would then empty it to probably
But
install.
why wouldn't they give you a
plumber.
price on the install to include it, include the install?
I
They
think
know we need the holding tank, they're gonna deliver it, so why would you exclude the cost of installing it?
We have duct tape.
I thought we just sit it on the blacktop,
I had a thought. Okay, this is a way bizarre, out-of-the-box thinking. When I saw that, what I came up with was $22.80, $38 per month to lease the building part, plus $9,133 delivery and return charges to take the modules back, plus the portable toilets and all of that. Does anybody have an empty house in Legacy that could be used during this 8 months? And rent it?
So that would solve the office side.
Not the
Everything,
bathrooms.
water, sewer,
Yeah, not-
No, but we
No,
gotta have
but it
bathrooms for the
wouldn't-
pool.
You're gonna want bathrooms up here for folks who are playing bocce and in the pool
Yeah.
and shuffleboard.
They go home.
So to me, those are two separate things
Good
that this is,
exercise.
so I don't disagree on the.
What if they can't hold it?
house, although that
Use
to
a
some
diaper.
extent, we violate our docs because we're running a business out of a house. But I think you do have to have, those are sort of two separate things that
Yeah.
were conjoined in them.
Okay.
And plus, I don't know if everybody would want, in the neighborhood where we would rent the house, everybody else from the community bombarding the neighborhood when they're coming to see them. So that would be another.
We could work from home too.
There are cruise ships you could work from too.
So Matt,
Is
how,
there any room available up in the office building?
I talked to the person that basically the landlord, and he doesn't have. He said I could talk to Florida Plus and see if they would maybe give us a desk or let us use a desk there, but it wouldn't work with what we need to do.
Now,
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we
Yeah.
had touched.
No,
Yeah.
Terry asked me to look at that, and I did.
Yeah.
so Matt, how many separate restroom areas are we talking here? Because I can see it now. I mean, the CAM obviously needs restroom facilities. Nobody would be doing anything interior to the buildings, but, pickleball, tennis, bocce, pool, the pool, all that stuff will be used. So are you talking a setup over there, a setup over there, a setup for you guys? And, it can get.
Well, that's kind of totally up to you guys. I mean, I kind of look at the actual restroom cost as, to me, high. To you
But
guys,
Matt, I
maybe
agree.
not.
I agree.
I would think one, maybe centrally located. I mean, it might be a bit of a walk for bocce and shuffleboard or whatever, maybe on this side, because more activities over
Matt,
here.
I read the proposal about the office space to include a restroom within that office
Correct.
space. So the CAM would have their own restroom in their trailer.
That's right, I did see
Yeah, yeah. And so the other, which is a multi-use, there would be a men's and women's side, but they're multiple stalls.
Again, for the residents with their
Yeah.
activities, sports courts and things like that, that'll still be open and
But if you're
functioning.
talking months, And I think, and we're old, and if this becomes a construction zone, to ask somebody who's playing tennis to come over here or the other way around, I would think you would need two.
But Todd, that's another whole discussion, as you would tell me, because I was gonna ask, but I decided not to, where we would place these trailers. But I thought that would be premature at this time. I was gonna hold that till the 22nd.
I'm so proud of you, Dave.
Well, in some ways it's not, because if you want to pick a number, we need to know if we need to modify the bid now. Because if you ask me to modify the bid on the 22nd, then we gotta wait till.
I think this is expensive enough as it is to get one bathroom trailer and one office trailer. I don't think we wanna add additional bathroom trailers or office trailers.
So is the bid just for one bathroom?
Correct.
And the bathrooms in the CAM office, which we can share, it's not a big deal, we share now, so they
So
could
as long
use
as
the
we
ones
put
in the
the-
office too.
CAM office on one side and the another bathroom.
That's a common sense compromise, that's
Yeah.
good.
Matt, can you tell me how many women could be accommodated in this restroom and how many men? That is important.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe it kind of depends. Let me pull these both up.
I only ask that question since we're discussing whether we need more than one restroom facility.
Well, one has 3, one has 5.
Is that what it is?
No, there were multiple stalls, I don't know if it's 2 or
Right.
3.
Yeah, one had 3.
Yeah, I just want to make sure there were enough women's spaces in the building, in the trailer.
So it depends on if you go like with Tailored Thrones, you've got the 3 station and 5 station.
Okay.
I believe one of them would be a handicapped, and then
Right.
one will be men's and one will be women's. I think the women's has 2 stalls, and the men's has a stall and a urinal, which is kind of
Yeah.
standard stuff. And the portable restrooms, I believe same thing. The women have 2 stalls, and the men it's a urinal.
So we
and a
should,
stall.
Todd, we should be able to handle the traffic.
I would think
Given
so,
that, yeah.
as long as you separate those two.
Well, the other, if I may, the other thing I think we're probably looking at is when it starts, they're gonna be doing a lot of this work in the summertime, which not as much stuff goes on, so that's a good thing for us. People are gone.
You think they're not going to start till the summertime?
Well, no,
Please, Chris,
I mean,
please.
the majority of the work is
Oh.
gonna be done.
The-
I would hope they would start before the summer, but, you know, I'm just trying to be realistic. Getting permits and everything else, let's say they start the 1st of April, so that's kind of good in a way because things are starting to close down.
You'll be in springtime and then in the
Right.
summer, yeah.
Yeah, so,
It'll be fine.
yeah,
Don't go lightly now on the women. They need to have the facilities available to them. My wife taught me that.
Any other questions? Any other discussion on this? Okay, I think one of the things that's really going to be important, though, once we get those bids and we're getting ready to go out to community, definitely the moving and storage part, the facilities and all that, we need to be ready to give them.
Execute, yeah.
Right, yeah, to give you the full authority to do that.
Okay, so as far as takeaways for us and what we have to do is mainly just the move-in and storage questions about the insurance and getting an additional proposal for the billiards table. That's what
And
think that's it.
check on the, is the container included?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
okay,
yeah.
all right.
Yeah, on that one bid, it didn't seem like they were, yeah.
But it's a real expensive.
Yeah. All right, moving along, annual meeting election proposal.
So we have 2 proposals. One is just for the annual meeting. One also includes the building vote. Now, with the building vote, it depends, the cost is based on so many pages inserted into the mailer, and the mailer is based on 200 people receiving the mail. because we're about 80% electronic voting. So like previous elections in the past, that number will fluctuate based on the number that we insert. But that's, you can see the number that they put there.
But I noticed it's a reasonable number, so it's not.
Yeah, and all of it's within my spending authority, but the past practice has been to have you guys approve it, especially since,
I think the real question here is the one I brought up earlier. Are we going to include the building vote along with the election of officers vote? Or are we going to have two separate votes?
so I'll explain how it would work if you lump it with your annual meeting. Similar to the covenants vote, what happened is you got one username and password, and that's really the key thing here is if we separate the two, then you get two username and passwords, and that's going to be a disaster. So one username and password, they log in, they'll see the information about what they're voting on, and it'll be like multiple pages. So like last time it showed the covenants and it had a list of yes or no for all of them. And with the building, it'll have information about the building, what the funds that are being requested approval, and they just put yes or no, and then it'll take them to the next page, which is the list of directors, and they can check the box of which directors they would like to elect. So,
That's what I was hoping for.
and if we do that instead of the previous approval or previous approved proposal for the building was around $2,600. If we do the annual meeting, it's around $2,600. If we lump the two together, it's around $38. So there's a little bit of savings there.
I like it.
Anyone have any questions regarding that? Would there be someone who would like to entertain a motion on this?
I make a motion that we accept the proposal from Tie Vote to do a joint, what do I want to call that?
Partial hybrid service is what
Okay,
they call it.
partial hybrid service.
I second.
All right,
So that would be for 30, not to exceed 4,000, because there is some variability there.
In the number.
Yeah.
And that would come out of account 6050?
Sounds good?
all right, there's a
So-
motion, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, so my only other question is, do we need to somehow erase our last vote? Because we're not going to have the separate, right? So we voted two, or do we just sort of let that sit there and just?
Well, I think the fact that you decided to lump the two together
Together, sort of.
cancels out the other one, yeah.
I'm good with that.
Yep.
And we can
Sure.
word it that way in the minutes.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion, any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, next is, we're moving on to the bocce court update / proposal.
So when we talked about the bocce courts last time, just to refresh everybody's memory, we were replacing the borders and the bumpers in courts, I think it's 1 and 2, the
Yeah,
front
Correct,
ones.
1 and 2.
That have the old style. So we got our proposals last time, and they gave me two proposals. One was for 18,000, one was for 12,000, approximately. There's some small number in there too. But the reason the $18,000 one was because they weren't sure if we could use the existing posts. The posts that are on courts 1 and 2 are round, like fence post style, and they only go up about 4 inches, where the steel square tubing posts that are on course 3 and 4 are go higher up, and that's what the composite materials are attached to. So originally they thought they could use the existing, but it turns out they can't because they just won't go up high enough to attach the composite. So they sent me a change order to have the increased cost of the $6,000 to change the post out. I asked them, Dave Liebley asked me to have a proposal put together to just do it with composite material, with pressure treated wood like it is now.
And
Just
2x4,
redo it.
yeah.
And it's basically the same as the composite, it'd be the $12,000, but where we get into the cost is changing the post out. So if you decide to just say, we're not changing the posts, and we want to go with With the existing setup, then the pressure treated is gonna cost $12,000. If you want the composite, you've gotta pay the additional $6,000 for them to change the posts, and that will be $18,000.
So, I know we have someone signed up, is that before?
What they wanna do after.
They want to do it after? Okay, so I'll start off on this one. I'm not a great bocce player, as Dave can attest. But, you know, unfortunately, Dave Englander couldn't be here today. And what the majority of the bocce club had requested was that we do go with the composite, just as they had requested before. And the effort with that was to make a level playing field between all four courts, because we're not going to go back and do courts 3 and 4 any different. We just had that done not too long ago. One thing else, which will be the next item, and I think when we're making a decision, it's important to consider this. The item coming up after this is a bocce club gift donation. They are proposing that if we do agree to go ahead and continue with what we wanted with the composite in the beginning, that they will donate $3,000 from the bocce club in good faith to show that they are, you know, this is what they definitely want. And they realize it's going to be a little bit more, but to get what they want, they would donate $3,000. So that would be setting the $6,000 additional off from what would be actually coming out of our funds. So that being said, Barb, do you have any questions or discussion before?
No, I don't play bocce, but I value the fact that all the courts would be similar, because I know that we're just having a little bit of problems with the shuffleboard courts because they're not the same as they were before. So I can see we're going from court to court with bocce, that if the court's different or the field is playing is different, it would cause problems. So I would think it would be, let's do what they want. They play, I think it's their game.
Yeah, and that's one of the we've got more participation there from the community than any other sport. So, Chris?
Well, having played bocce many, many years ago, I agree. I think we should go with where all the courts are the same. The fact that the bocce club wants to donate $3,000, that I think that's a great idea. It just makes a lot of sense to have everything the same. Plus the fact that it's always amazed me that 150 people are out there playing bocce every week. It's always been, as long as I've been here, probably the highest amount of people playing all the time. So yeah, I think we need to go with an extra $6,000.
Yeah, I concur, Todd.
So I will disagree a little bit with Terry. I think it's very important to get it done. I'm more than willing to spend the extra $6,000 as the board. Where I'm getting a little bit concerned is I think it's great you're willing to donate for it. What I would like to say though is you don't have to do that. I don't know how to say this right? It's our job to maintain the courts. I don't want the impression to go out there. You want something done, you have to bring something to the park. So, right?
Hold that thought after you pay for the roads and the building.
And I am one of the cheapest guys up by here on the board. And I will gladly accept the funds. I just want to make sure we all understand. And since there's separate things on the agenda, I think it's good, is that we're going to do the right thing to keep the courts consistent with each other. And then if they want to give us a gift, great. But that, at least for me, that extra $3,000, it shows how important it is. But I don't know if the money itself, I get a little bit concerned about, well, now I need to bring something out of myself.
Well, I think one thing to remember too is, you know, softball, they've donated, they've done other stuff, so we don't expect, like you said, them to have to do this. This was something that they wanted to do, and and they approached us with it, so,
And
yeah.
I think it's great, I'm really excited to take the money, I just want to, I just sort of want to put that out there, that
Yeah.
I don't see that as sort of a saying.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely not. Dave?
As an avid bocce player on the board, I just want to state for the record that the management of the bocce club, I'm talking about those people that set the rules, that pick the names of who's going to be on what club, etc. Those folks decided to make courts 1 and 2 like courts 3 and 4. Courts 1 and 2, and I know this is getting down into the weeds, but courts 1 and 2, there are people who play bocce on a regular basis that like courts 1 and 2. It is a preference over 3 and 4, because 3 and 4 we built when Todd and I were on the board previously. They're made with 2x6 Trex boards. Courts 1 and 2 are made with 2x4 pressure treated lumber, and they have a fiberglass face on them, so you get a good ricochet off if you do a shot against the sidewall. There are some players that like that about 1 and 2, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. The point being is that the management of the club decided that they wanted, as Terry mentioned earlier, to make all 4 courts the same. And so when they approached the board for the maintenance of courts 1 and 2, which were original to the community, by the way, so they're over 20 years old, and they are due. They need to be, the sideboards need to be replaced. They asked that they be done with 2x6 Trex boards. And that is the one bid that Josh was talking about that he got originally. And based on some feedback I got from a number of bocce players, I also asked that Josh would go out and get a 2x4 pressure treated so that we could reuse the fiberglass facing that's on the existing. To make a long story short, since all this happened, the management of the club, they met, they unanimously approved to provide $3,000 out of the club funds to help supplement the cost of the 2x6 installation, since it was $6,000 more, since they had to replace the rods that hold the sideboards. As Terry said, this is not unheard of a club providing support for their efforts through their donations. That's done by the softball people all the time. So I don't think there was any expectation on the board's part that we would get them to pay for anything. I think it's very generous of them to offer it, and I think we should accept that. And since the time that I asked Josh to go out and get that other bid, I've been approached by a lot of people, and they changed my mind, and I'm going to vote to approve this.
Frank?
Well said, Dave. In a nutshell, I think this is a win-win, no-brainer. I think that as a board, we walk the line of having a fiduciary responsibility to do things in a prudent, conservative manner. However, we need to not be tone deaf to our residents. And I think this is a perfect example of the common sense thing to do. And I applaud the group to giving the $3,000. That there was no expectation of that. And I think we would have done this either way.
Yeah.
But I think it's all great, and it's a win-win all the way around. And I vote yes, and let's get her done.
All right, would you like to make a motion then?
Yes.
I make a motion to accept the $3,000 gift towards the upgrade of the post.
No.
The
Well,
first
we're
thing
gonna-
is
you gotta
we gotta
vote.
make a motion
So let's
to
do
pay
it
the $6
separate.
grand.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So we're voting to do the addition.
I make the motion to accept the change order for the post at the amount of $6,000. And
I'll
To
second.
come from,
To come from account $67.90, which is where the original amount was going
Right.
to
So before you guys vote, we got Jim McDonald that would like to speak.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'll just say that I'll waive my,
Oh, you're gonna waive it?
yeah, because you
Jim, there's
guys,
no need,
you
yeah.
guys are working it out,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I appreciate your cooperation with it. And we're happy to give you the 3,000.
Okay.
Thank you.
I second, so I second. No, I want to, can I second it? Oh, John.
You can do the next one.
All right, we had a motion on the floor to accept or to approve the upgraded amount. There's a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Okay, now, next is the Bocce Club gift donation in the amount of $3,000.
I'll move to accept the bocce court gift to be used to offset the cost of the repairs that were approved this date.
I second it.
So, okay, and I would move that into account 4390, which is in the income section, because we've had concerns in the past when we tried to offset things in the actual expense account. So I just move it into miscellaneous income.
That's a clean, yeah.
I couldn't find a gift income line.
Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Alrighty, so upcoming meeting dates I'm sorry, go ahead, do you have something?
Yeah, I do have two things. Number one, for the Golf Cart Club, thank you very much. It was wonderful to watch the Christmas parade come by our house. And for the people who don't go out, please pay attention. It's wonderful to see those 30 to 40 people with their golf carts, and they do throw candy. The second thing, it was wonderful to go out and watch our own personal boat parade last night.
Yeah. Okay, so January 22nd, that is going to be a long meeting. That being said, we had it scheduled for 2 p.m. I would like to change that to 10 a.m.
Wonderful.
So that way we will have plenty of time, not feel rushed, because we will have a lot on our plate at that meeting. So,
Bag lunch.
Yeah.
yeah, bag
Because
lunch
they
or
were coming up for
something.
pizza?
Yeah. All right. if
I
you're-
second the pizza.
I
Yeah.
think we ought to have a working lunch.
I'm going to just say one thing before we adjourn, if I might. This month, the board had to review 159 pages of information from our Leland management to prepare for our board meeting. In addition, we had to review 57 pages in our board packet for this meeting. We also had 6 pages of cost opinions that were put out by Powell to the bidders for the building, and another 16 pages of addendums to the bid project. So that took a lot of work, and I want to thank my colleagues here and our CAM office also for putting together all those papers that we had to read to help manage this community. I also have heard people say, oh, our CAM office doesn't do much. Well, no. I'm sure it's nobody listening. It's the people who sit back in their homes and don't get involved that say these things, but they do say it. And it really burns me up. I was looking at, and the other thing was, oh, they don't ever send out notices for violations of things that are happening in the community, and the community's running down and all this stuff. Well, I looked at the report on violations just for the period of time from November 1st to November 15th. There were 7 pages of violations that the CAM office had to go out and review the neighborhoods, send the notices of violation, follow up that those were taken care of. I mean, that's just one tiny part of the job that our CAM office does. So I don't want to hear they don't do anything, because I'll get more reports and share it next time too. That's all.
Question about the meeting time? You wanted
one is because he's in the West Coast. So usually it's,
Okay,
there's
so
a
it's
3 hour
always-
time difference.
It's always been it's always been in the morning in the past.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, I'll
that-
check with him.
So that was my only thing, but we need more time because it's a more complicated thing with the link stuff. I'm fine with that.
Josh, why don't you reach out to them and see what's the earliest they could be available? Is all.
Are we also meeting on January 20th also?
He already did.
Get to 22nd.
Okay, I wrote down the 20th also. Was there something?
No, there's,
I think that we just misspoke
Yeah.
from what the.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
originally, we were talking about moving this meeting to the 20th with the anticipation that we were gonna have the bids back in time for us to review. And then when we found out we weren't, then we kept the 18th schedule. So that's why the 20th, and then, of course, the other one's the 22nd, so it was a little confusing.
yeah, and again, for the record, for everybody out there watching on television, the bids are due on January 8th. Hal is then going to review those bids, do an analysis of those bids that they're going to provide to us, the board, approximately the 13th or 14th of January, correct, Terry?
Correct.
And then we will have time, we, the board, will have time to review those ourselves before we then have our meeting on the 22nd of January.
Correct. And right now, it is our intent that Powell will be here on the 22nd at that meeting, so.
Hopefully that doesn't change.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
yeah.
Another thing else, and there's a high likelihood the beginning of next month we'll have I'll say fast board meeting to review the road proposal.
Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful.
Yep. Yeah. All
I'd like
right,
to
there's
make a
no
motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you all very much.
It doesn't seem like